Welcome to the deep dive. If you're working in metabolic medicine today, well, things are changing fast,
Right.
really fast.
It's a huge shift, absolutely. The focus isn't just getting A1C down anymore.
Right. We're looking at the whole picture now, aggressive metabolic management, thinking about cardiovascular risk, kidney health. It's the new standard for obesity and type 2 diabetes.
And that means we need treatments that, really work in the real world, not just in trials. Patients need something they can stick with, sometimes for years.
High efficacy, but also high adherence. That's the goal.
Exactly.
So today, we're diving into a potentially major player here, orforglipron. It's a novel, once-a-day, oral non-peptide GLP-1 receptor agonist. We've got phase 2 data, some key phase 3 results, analyses on its mechanism, the works.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to unpack.
Our mission then is to figure out what makes this drug different. How does it stack up really against what we already have, especially the injectables, and where does it fit as we move towards using multiple therapies together?
Okay, so let's start with maybe the biggest hurdle for these kinds of chronic meds, adherence.
Yeah. The injectables work, no question, but getting patients to start them and stay on them, that can be tough.
You really can. And then we saw the first attempt at an oral solution, oral semaglutide.
Which was a breakthrough, definitely, but it came with its own challenges, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That whole routine, 30 minutes before food, just a tiny bit of water has to be first thing.
It's pretty rigid. For a lot of people, that kind of strict timing, day in and day out, is just hard to maintain long term. It makes taking your medicine feel like a complicated chore.
Right, and this is where orforglipron comes in with a really interesting molecular advantage because it's not a peptide, it's a small molecule.
Okay, so what does that mean, practically?
It means it basically sidesteps the whole problem of getting broken down by stomach acid like peptides do.
Ah, I see.
And the benefit for the patient is huge. It's a once daily pill you can take whenever, with or without food, with water. No restrictions.
That sounds much simpler. Game-changingly simple, maybe.
It really could be. It turns it from this complex ritual back into just taking a pill once a day. That convenience factor is massive.
So if it's that convenient, how does it actually perform? Let's talk pharmacology. How does this small molecule deliver the goods? It's a partial agonist, but there's this term, bias signaling.
That's the key concept, yeah. Orforglipron is designed to interact with the GLP-1 receptor in a specific way. It strongly activates one pathway, the cyclic AMP or CECAMP pathway.
Okay.
But it has less effect on another pathway involving something called beta-arrestin.
Beta-arrestin.
Okay.
For those of us not deep in receptor kinetics day to day, why is activating beta-arrestin maybe less desirable? Does it make the drug less effective over time?
That's a really good way to think about it, clinically speaking. Beta-arrestin recruitment is often linked to the receptor, well, shutting down temporarily. The cell pulls the receptor inside, making it unavailable. It's called desensitization or internalization.
Got it. So less beta-arrestin means the receptor stays available longer.
Potentially, yes. By being biased towards CECAMP and away from beta-arrestin, orforglipron might lead to less of that long-term receptor desensitization. The idea is you get a more sustained, consistent effect from the drug.
Which is exactly what you want for managing a chronic condition.
Right. And that sustained action fits nicely with its pharmacokinetics. It has a pretty long half-life, somewhere between 29 and 49 hours.
So that supports the once-daily dosing, keeps levels steady.
Exactly. The PK backs up the convenience.
Okay, let's get to the results everyone wants to see, especially clinicians managing these patients. The weight loss. We've got phase 2 data at 36 weeks, and then the longer phase 3 ATTAIN-1 trial over 72 weeks, both in non-diabetic adults with obesity. How much weight are we talking?
We're talking numbers that are definitely in the ballpark of the injectables, which is really the headline here.
Okay.
So in that phase 2 study, the average starting weight was high, about 109 kilos. After 36 weeks, the group on the highest dose, 45 milligrams, lost an average of 14.7%.
14.7%. Wow. Compared to placebo.
Compared to just 2.3% with placebo. So a very clear dose-dependent effect.
That's substantial weight loss in, what, just over 8 months? What about the longer phase 3 trial, ATTAIN-1? That went out to 72 weeks.
Yeah, over the longer term, 72 weeks, the highest dose tested there, which was 36 milligrams, gave an average weight loss of 12.4%.
12.4%. About 27 pounds on average.
Roughly, yeah. And importantly, if you look at those thresholds that we know make a big clinical difference, like losing 10% or more of body weight, almost 60%, 59.6% actually, if people on that top dose hit the 10% mark or went beyond it, and nearly 40% lost 15% or more.
That's the kind of weight loss where you really expect to see benefits across the board, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
obesity drives so many other problems.
Absolutely. It's linked to over 200 other conditions. So when you see 10–15% weight loss, you expect improvements elsewhere.
So let's talk about those other improvements. What do the trials show for cardiometabolic health beyond just the number on the scale?
The impact was definitely systemic. We saw clinically meaningful drops in systolic blood pressure. In phase 2, it was down by as much as 10.5 millimeters of mercury at 36 weeks.
Wow, okay. That alone is significant for cardiovascular risk.
It really is. And the lipids improved too: triglycerides, total cholesterol, non-HDL, LDL, all moving in the right direction.
Good.
And there was another interesting finding in the phase 3 data. An exploratory analysis looked at HSCRP, that marker for inflammation.
Like C-reactive protein.
Yeah. The highest dose cut HSCRP levels by almost half, 47.7%. That suggests a pretty potent anti-inflammatory effect, which could contribute directly to lowering cardiovascular risk.
Okay, that's encouraging. Now, we do need to mention the known class effect, the impact on heart rate.
Yes, that's important to note. As we see with other GLP-1 receptor agonists, there was an increase in mean pulse rate. The change from baseline was somewhere between about 3 and 7 beats per minute higher in the orforglipron groups at 36 weeks.
So it's consistent with the class, something to monitor,
Yeah.
but expected.
Exactly. It's a recognized physiological effect of stimulating these receptors.
Let's connect this back to the bigger picture strategy then. We're increasingly focused on protecting the heart and the kidneys. Where does an agent like orforglipron potentially fit into that?
Well, we know the GLP-1 RA class overall has demonstrated kidney benefits, particularly in type 2 diabetes. Drugs like semaglutide, liraglutide, dulaglutide, they reduce the progression of kidney disease, things like new macroalbuminuria, and they slow down the decline in eGFR.
Right, the FLOW trial with semaglutide really hammered that home recently.
It did. So, given orforglipron's potent metabolic effects, the expectation is it will align with these class benefits for cardiorenal protection. And that's being specifically studied right now in the ACHIEVE phase 3 program.
Okay, so the potential is there to contribute to that holistic risk reduction.
That's the hope, and frankly, becoming the expectation for new metabolic therapies. These benefits are almost table stakes now.
Now, you mentioned oral semaglutide earlier. Given orforglipron's, shall we say, user-friendliness, how did it actually perform when compared directly? Was there a head-to-head study?
Yes, there was. And the data showed orforglipron had, well, a stronger effect at the maximum doses tested.
A stronger how? A1C, weight.
Both, actually. For A1C lowering, orforglipron achieved a 2.2% reduction compared to 1.4% for oral semaglutide.
Okay, that's a noticeable difference.
And for weight loss, which is often the primary goal for patients with obesity but without diabetes, orforglipron led to significantly more, about 74% greater weight loss on average.
74% more. Wow. What were the actual percentages?
It was an average loss of 9.2% of body weight with orforglipron versus 5.3% with oral semaglutide in that comparison.
So the convenience doesn't seem to come at the cost of efficacy. Quite the opposite in this head-to-head.
It appears that way, yes. The small molecule design seems to be delivering a more potent clinical effect compared to the first-generation oral peptide.
Okay, but there's always a but, right? What about tolerability? GI side effects are the main issue with this whole class. How did orforglipron look there?
That is definitely the trade-off, and it's consistent with the class. Nausea was quite common, reported by anywhere from 37% to 58% of participants in the phase 2 study, depending on the dose. Vomiting was also frequent.
That's high. Were these severe? Did people stop the drug?
Most events were rated mild or moderate, and they mostly happened during the initial dose increases. But yes, a significant number of people did discontinue because of GI side effects, somewhere around 10% to 17% in that phase 2 trial.
10 to 17%. That's not insignificant. That really highlights the importance of how you start and increase the dose, doesn't it?
Absolutely critical. The dosing strategy is everything for managing tolerability. The meta-analysis looking at all the data suggests that the best balance between efficacy and side effects probably lies in the 24 to 36 milligram per day range for obesity treatment.
So finding that sweet spot.
Right. And crucially, the phase 3 trials learned from phase 2. They're using much lower starting doses and much slower titration schedules, specifically designed to try and minimize those early GI problems and help more patients stay on therapy long term.
That makes sense. So orforglipron is entering a field that's moving incredibly fast. We already have dual agonists like tirzepatide showing, what, over 20% weight loss?
Up to 22.5% in people without diabetes, yeah.
And even triple agonists like retatrutide hitting 24% in phase 2. How does a potent single agonist, even an oral one, fit into that landscape of multi-target drugs?
I think it fits strategically as potentially a foundational tool. It offers that high efficacy, close to injectables, but with unparalleled oral convenience.
So maybe the go-to starting point for many.
It could be. While the multi-agonists might offer the absolute maximum weight loss for some, orforglipron gives you strong results with a much simpler delivery. And honestly, the future, especially for complex patients that endocrinologists see, isn't about finding one magic bullet.
It's about using multiple tools together, combination therapy.
Exactly. That's where we're heading. We need to hit the disease from multiple angles.
And we're already seeing proof of concept for that additive benefit, right? Stacking different classes of drugs.
We have really compelling evidence, especially for kidney protection. If you look at pooled data from those big trials, Renal with RAS blockers, Credence with SGLT2 inhibitors, and now FELOW with semaglutide, adding each class sequentially gives you progressively better slowing of kidney function decline. When you combine all three RAS, SGLT2, and a GLP-1 RA like semaglutide, the rate of eGFR decline drops way down to about minus 2.17 millilemon per year.
That's impressive protection.
It is. So you can see how orforglipron, as a potent, convenient oral GLP-1 RA, could easily slot into that kind of multi-drug strategy. It could become a key component in that stack to really drive down cardiorenal risk, maybe even earlier in the disease process because it's oral.
Okay, last piece of the puzzle, but a crucial one. Real-world use depends on access and cost. What's the outlook there for orforglipron?
This could be one of its biggest advantages, actually. Because it's a small molecule, it should, in theory, be cheaper to manufacture than the complex injectable peptides.
Right, potentially lower production costs.
And the projections seem to reflect that. It's anticipated to be priced maybe 10–15% lower than Zepbound, for example.
Okay, that helps.
And there's also been talk about access initiatives. An agreement with the U.S. government aims to cap the cost for Medicare beneficiaries at $50 a month if it gets FDA approval by a certain date, April 2026, I think.
That kind of focus on affordability is huge for chronic medication.
Absolutely essential if you want widespread, long-term use and population-level benefit.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. With orforglipron, we're looking at injectable-level weight loss and metabolic improvement, packaged in a simple, once-daily pill you can take anytime, regardless of food. Plus, potentially better manufacturing costs and access.
That's the package, yes. It blends efficacy with real-world convenience in a way we haven't quite seen before in an oral agent for this class.
It really feels positioned to change how we approach metabolic disease management, maybe making effective treatment more accessible earlier on.
I think that's right. We are definitely moving towards using combinations of drugs to hit multiple risk factors, simultaneously hyperglycemia, weight, blood pressure, inflammation, kidney risk.
The whole metabolic picture.
The whole picture. And orforglipron looks like it could be a really valuable, patient-friendly tool to help us achieve that comprehensive protection much more easily.
So here's something to think about. If this kind of non-peptide, food-independent oral agent truly removes one of the biggest barriers to long-term GLP-1 RA therapy adherence, and we know this class offers powerful cardiorenal benefits, how quickly do you think clinical guidelines might shift to integrate these new oral options as a foundational, maybe even first-line approach for tackling the sheer scale of obesity and related metabolic disease worldwide? Something for you to consider as you plan your patient's care.